Nina's First Dragon. Story by John Tang. Art by Tim Tang. Oh, these stupid walls could go on forever and ever and ever. Stone upon stone, staggered on top of each other. The eyes believed that the pattern disappeared into the corners of the room. You had to wonder how the stonemason made them fit perfectly. A sea of gray tiles covered the ground from edge to edge, only to be broken by a sward, a green carpet with golden filigrees sewn into the hems, a field blessed with wheat. What else was Nina supposed to do by herself? She lay on her bed, head hanging upside down on the edge of the sheets, gaining a new perspective on her room, except she did this yesterday. Nina, the wet nurse, Miss Devi announced her entrance per usual. It's time for bed. Are you ready? And, as per usual, Nina sighed. Before the rubber heels could clack their way into the high-vaulted bedroom, Nina lay properly in her bed with the heavy covers over her face and her feet. Are you ready for a story? Nina shook her head yes. Did I tell you the one about the elf? You did, where his business becomes popular for selling shoes? Good memory. What about the gnomes? All her books get published and she travels around the world. Alright, how about the Mouse King trades all the cheese in the kingdom? My dear, you might have heard every story. Miss Devi thought for a moment. I got it. Is it the... With her fingers, Miss Devi closed Nina's sputtering lips. Shut it, child, she said. Dragons. We never explored them. Nina was intrigued, so she burrowed her face in the tiger fabric. One thing about Miss Devi, though, she might be strict, but she could tell a story. As her voice dropped an octave lower, she began. Once upon a time, there was an old village that ran out of water. The dragon! It was the dragon! I saw it with my own eyes. From all corners of the village, people gathered near the community well when they discovered all the water was missing. Farmers who irrigated water from the Zinga River also noticed a decent drought. Of course, one of the villagers said, it could be none other than a dragon. They want to take all the resources in the world. It was true. Dragons have a history of hoarding wealth. They were even worse when it came to negotiations. Rumors have gone around the region about merchants trying to bargain with dragons. Maybe they could trade a legendary gourd for a portion of their gold. But no. Dragons, in the end, as they count the talons on their webbed hands, just don't want to say the truth. What's not stopping them from eating you? The villagers decided that they would investigate tomorrow morning. But for Nina, the incident was kind of strange. What would a dragon do to possibly take all the water in the area? It was neither zenny nor rubies. In this lucid dream, she had more pressing questions, as if her fever imagination had a will of its own. For example, is this what it felt like to be a commoner? She pondered. Let's just see where this dream takes us. Later that evening, Nina woke up in a straw bed beside an open window. Outside, a glowing azure trail led deep into the forest. The colors were so beautiful and bright that she wondered how no one else had noticed. Nonetheless, her curiosity guided her along the way. Maybe she might burn in a blaze, she thought. After throwing stones and a piece of wood into the blue light, she decided that it was safe to touch. She suddenly felt safe to walk across it and into the forest, the surface smooth as glass. Several minutes into the forest, she began to notice the trail disappear from behind her. Silhouettes of enormous trees repeated themselves infinitely. Short, delicate blades of grass were her only means of comfort. Her only other means of comfort was the blue trail guiding her. Her intuition trusted the crystal pathway. A few minutes later, the trail ended with the circumference of a dark pond where a constellation of fireflies light the marigold and cattails and water lilies. Over the center of the black mirror, a ball of shadow hovered in midair. Parts of its anatomy suggested that the creature was a snake. Other parts suggested it was a fish. The body coiled around itself. Beneath the body, a translucent fin vibrated to the sound of the frogs. All the mystery stilled when the body glowed cerulean and sea green just like the crystal trail. The creature was enormous and supernatural. You're a dragon! Nina pointed at the deity. Her words stumbled over her quivering lips. Are you the one who took all the water? Water? Your words assume that I am a thief. The dragon slithered in the air towards the girl. A breath from its snout could nearly knock her over. Child, the world belongs to no one. Dragons, we maintain order among the natural elements. We have studied your species for centuries, and always with humans, they believe what can't be controlled is an anomaly. Not everything needs to serve your sensibilities. But if we don't have water, how are we going to survive, she reasoned. All life needs water, right? Child, your question is as innocent as your heart, the dragon considered. One day, you'll understand the evilness that your species carries and even imbibes on. For now, I will evaluate your request. The dream faded into darkness. Nina woke up to a thunderclap in the middle of the night. It was so loud, no one in the castle could hear her scream. Heavy rain washed the castle walls. Lightning flashed against the stained glass window. Another force of thunder echoed across the valley. Are dragons real? She pondered underneath the bed coverings, afraid to wish them into existence. Nina, her father, regaled in an auburn cloak, turned to his daughter. This fine morning at the long breakfast table, his voice stentorian. It's time for you to see what it takes to be a king of the people. Maybe one day you will find the love of your life from another kingdom. At this time, you must be willing to share your kingdom with him. And it would only serve you best if you understood the daily errands of being a king. Nina appeared annoyed, but she understood the business. Kingdoms united with one another so that they could control all the land. Well, only until another larger kingdom invaded. Maybe the dragon from her dream was right. People could simply be disgusting. The worst came from the spirit of wanting to control everything. After breakfast, as the maids cleared the table, Nina's father escorted her to the throne hall, a spacious room with 3 golden chairs which sat on an elevation. Vermeil curtains regaled the far wall as 2 decorative flowers sit on opposite sides of the room. Nina's mother was already sitting on the left side. She kissed Nina on her soft cheeks and promised her that she'd be a good queen in the future. Every day in this room, the king held an audience with locals. Nina lived in a period where literacy was scarce, and word of mouth was the only means of communication. Wouldn't it be easier if everyone just learned their alphabet so that they could pen their complaints on a piece of parchment? At least the king could peruse them at his own leisure. But no such culture existed yet. "Escort the first guest," the king called from across the room while Nina sat to his right. Guards opened the double-breasted door and allowed the first guest to enter. What could possibly be inside? Nina got a strange feeling about the presentation. She certainly didn't have a good feeling about these 2 horsies. The 2 guests introduced themselves as Ballio and Sunder. They were a vaudeville act, with Ballio the main lead and Sunder the punchline. They finished each other's sentences and made a spectacle out of the concept of a dragon. A legendary creature which could be used in war. Wouldn't it be fitting for a kingdom to have one of these weapons of mass destruction? "Enough of your spectacle," the king cut them off. "What is in your possession?" "Your Highness, I give you the dragon." One swoop, Ballio removed the canvas from the cage. But while others only saw a child, Nina saw something different, especially in the eyes, azure as the dragon she had seen in her dream. "What is the meaning of this?" the king requested. The horses got nervous. They had the odd plan of bullying the child. Surrounding all sides of the cage, they started kicking it and rattling it and yelling at the child to change into a dragon. Of course, the only logical consequence was that the child began to cry. First, they place a child in a cage. Then they torture it. What was wrong with people? We don't even treat pet cats like that. Nina's mother looked visibly upset as she covered her face behind a fan, and it was only natural for Nina to cry shortly after. Ashamed, the king's face boiled red and pounded his fist on the armrest. "Enough," the king demanded. "Explain yourself, charlatans."